Hi everybody, Paul from Personal Development Unplugged, and I was going to do a podcast all about the anti-New Year's resolutions, everything that isn't a New Year's resolution, because we're coming up to that time of year where I believe you're going to waste your time. And the thing is, I actually did a Q&A webinar, one I do twice a month for my son Joseph Clough's Mind Mastery group. It's a great program that he's developed, and it includes like a community of people. And say twice a month I do a Q&A webinar, get the words right, Paul, and I actually talked about this, and I talked about it in great detail, and I thought there was nothing to repeat really. So what I've done, with your permission, is just add the recording, the section out of the webinar, because the webinar goes on for an hour, and this one's like a 35-minute extract. But I think you find it really interesting, and I go into some really personal stuff that I've experienced and what came from one of my counterintuitive ways of not doing a New Year's resolution. Okay, I'm sure you'll find it interesting. There's lots of stuff in here. I've had to re-listen to it too when I edited it out, so I had to take a couple of names out. I found it really interesting to listen to myself again, which is quite weird. So, and you've got the time, this holiday period anyway, but we can do this at any time. Interested? Go on, have a listen. Come and enter into my unplugged mind.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
I want you to think of this, and how many of us do New Year's resolutions? Put your hand up if you've done them or are planning to do them. I'll put my hand down next, I'm not doing it. But if you were, I want to ask you not to, because I want you to do something completely different. You see, New Year's resolutions don't seem to work. I mean, you take, and the example is gyms. People want to get fit. I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get fit. They sign up to a gym. Gymnasiums, gym clubs, they love January because that's when they get everyone signing up for a whole year. They will oversubscribe because they know within a few weeks everything goes back to normal because there's no follow through. People don't think about it. And I want you to think about this time of year where we do a New Year's resolution. I want you to do it in a different way, because I think you'll get some aha moments, but I think it will make the whole year different. You see, New Year's resolutions, basically all we're doing is setting ourselves some goals. Why wait till New Year, that first week just after Christmas and just after the New Year? Why wait? Because to me, an aha moment is part of a resolution. You've learned something, you've changed something, you're going to do something differently. So you can actually do them at any time of the year. So my challenge to you is, this is something you can do any time of the year, and I advise you to do it. But at this moment, just take some time over this holiday to do something different. And what I want you to do is a review. But to do a review, we've talked about having a review and just looking back over the work and things like that, but do something a bit more detailed. I would love you to think about creating a retreat for yourself. I don't know if anybody has been on a retreat by them, not necessarily by themselves, but I know I've been on a retreat with half a dozen other people, and it was 3 days, and it was awesome because I was being led by somebody else or guided, allowed me to do my own thing and then guided again and things like that, which was awesome because it's a way to hand over the responsibility of the direction to somebody else, and then you take up that direction. So if you do that, awesome. And that's something I would advise everyone to just try. But this is your own personal retreat. So I have done these, and I'm going to go through one of mine. I'm going to share something quite personal with you, because take some time. Now, it could be you only spend a couple of hours on it. But what I'm going to challenge you to do is to spend something like a day, at least a day. Now, it can be split up, obviously, over a period of time if you can't get a day away. But if you could you find a place to just have some me time? Time when you can work on yourself, purely on yourself. Because if you can, that would be the ultimate part of this. But if you can't, split it up into little increments. Because my challenge to you is to do a review, but in a way that not only do you review how far you've come, and we're going to go through this in more detail, a review of what stopped you, what were the successes, what were the failures, or if we call them failures in inverted commas, what did you learn, and what would you like to do if you could, and how to do that. And I'm going to go through that shortly. But I want to show you something. I've got a notebook here, but I'll show you this book. It's a tatty old book, but my mum gave it to me. Bless it, she's not here. So this is like my special book for working. So you can see, maybe you can't see, but I'm the mind map king. Everything in here is a mind. Yes, you can see it. There's mind maps everywhere. See that? And this is my personal thoughts. And it was today I was thinking about offering this challenge up to you. And I suddenly remembered. Because what I used to do, and I'm going to do it, I don't do it quite so much now, but I used to go away for a couple of days. Don't see anyone. And I'd use my phone very rarely just to let people know I'm all right. I'd go away for a couple of days. That's it. I would have Mum's book. And I would review things. And this is some of the things. I'll just go through. This is not quite the way I'm going to suggest, but this is the way I did it then. I just set out one page, which was randoms before we start. I set some ground rules for myself, and I wrote them down. It was questions. That was part of my mind map. Questions. Make them tough. Think about them. And then the other one was answer them. Because we can do a lot of asking questions. We can think about the answers. But sometimes we can, give ourselves leeway to say that's too difficult and move on. And then I said, well, just make sure what you won't accept in these 2 days. And one of those things was, don't accept yourself and let yourself off. This is for us. I did another one. Don't waste this time. Because I knew this was a precious time for me, and it'd be quite easy to not suddenly go, hang on a minute, there's no one here, no one's looking. I'll give myself a bit of leeway. I'll have another cup of coffee. I'll just have another walk. Because it's good to walk. Don't waste this time, Paul. And then the last one was, before we start, remember to listen. And I've often thought about that now, because I always tell my clients, listen with all your senses. And what does that mean? Because sometimes when we're doing this work and we're asking questions of ourselves, and we're making them tough questions, because we're asking with our internal voice, okay, we might be writing them down. I always suggest writing these things down. But when you write them down, yes, you're using your internal voice and things like that, and you tend to think you're going to get an answer which is auditory. I've asked an auditory modality, I'm going to get it back. But sometimes it's a feeling. Sometimes it's just a sense of knowing something without anything being like, here, Paul, here's the answer. But he said, suddenly, I seem to know this. Or it could be a memory would come along. And you think, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what it is. But it's an answer. We're going to work on that memory, because that's what your unconscious mind has given you if you listen. It could be just a word comes to the tip of your tongue. Don't know what that word, I know what it means, but I don't know what it means in this context of the question. So I want to write that down and then think and answer that question. Work on it. And that was me before I started. That was just telling myself. And then when I sat down, I've got another thing here. It's got, areas of my life I want to change. So there was one, health. I wanted to change some actions, some behaviors. I wrote one down with a picture, and it was anger. because I knew sometimes I'd been angry about things. There was things about my relationships. I made another note, the things I like but I'm not doing enough of. These are the things I wanted to change. I wanted to do more of. And I wrote at the bottom of that, if you can see that, you can't, but it says, this or something better. So these were my conscious thoughts for the moment, but I'm not, just by writing that down, this or something better, it's telling my unconscious mind, if there's something more important, bring it up. Because again, this is another thing that I do with my clients. We will talk about why they're with me. What do they want? And it's like emptying their internal bucket of reasons why they're here, things they want. And then before we start to go deeper, we'll go into a little bit of a trance and just ask their unconscious mind, what else? What else hasn't come up into the conscious awareness? What else do we need to know that's important about the change work? And do you know what? The one little answer we get there seems to be although it's the smallest and the last, it becomes one of the most important things at the top to work on. And all the rest seem to just fit into it. It seems to really focus down. And when you say to them, or when I say to the client, does that make sense to you? And they're going, oh man, that makes so much sense to me. I don't know why I didn't say it. Because it was unconscious. And it's like your unconscious mind now says, I'm in the right place. I've got enough time. And I know I've got the tools to use to get it done. So that was my start. And that didn't come to me just quickly. Obviously, I sat down and let my unconscious mind and conscious mind come together. Then I started, and this is where it gets really personal. So no sharing. But it's got like and these were all really, I wanted to work on some negative behaviors. And I put in the middle of my mind map, the next mind map. And I'll just show it to you very quickly without reading. See, there it all is. And it said, my negative behaviors, emotions, and beliefs. I wasn't going to stop. I had 2 days that I was going to go up front and find out the things I wanted to change. And I knew I had the tools to change them. I just didn't know what to change. And then I just started to say, okay, unconscious mind, let's go through the things I wanted, the negative behaviors I seem to be doing. And one of the things that came to mind says, well, you're often passive aggressive, Paul. And I kept thinking, I'm not. And I'll sulk about this for a little while. Oh, yeah, I do. Sometimes when things happen, I do get that passive aggressive. And to me, the worst thing about that is when I felt I was being passive, that's one of the worst things I dislike about anybody any passive aggressive person. I really don't like that behavior at all. And yet there I am, poof, headlights come on, or in sparkly lights, passive aggressive. Then another thing came up was, appearing to be uncaring to others. Because if I appear that, maybe there's something I'm not giving. And that was the next bit. Not sharing. Being truly open with people. And I'm thinking to myself, blimey, I didn't even know where these were coming from. I then started to look at the emotions, and I just let my pen started writing. And they come up with my normal timeline therapy type clearing things. Anger, fear, sadness, guilt, and I said others. And one of them came up as loneliness. And I thought to myself, well, I don't know where that comes from. And then it was like my best friend says, well, hang on, remember this? Remember that? Yeah, that is something. And that starts to link with some of the other stuff. And then I started to think about, okay, we've got some beliefs there. So we've done some behaviors. We've done some emotions. Now, underneath this, I just know there's some beliefs. And this was the weird part that got me before this weekend. Or that particular, it wasn't a weekend, it was a couple of days in the week. I asked myself, when I'm thinking of all of this together, what belief do I have about myself that makes, because I could feel a lot of this stuff going on. And it was like that loneliness that wasn't just loneliness. And when I thought about being uncaring maybe, not being open and having that passive aggressive, I had an emotion. I just asked myself, what belief do I have about myself that makes this feeling so? And it's like, if I show my true feelings to people, those people will use it against me. And I thought, that sounds intellectual, Paul, but it's also starting to go inside. So I just kept saying, well, yeah, what else? What's below that? And then all of a sudden, and I'll show it to you very quickly, you see that big signpost there? I drew it on a signpost because it just says, if I show myself, I'll get hurt. I thought, whoa, we are going deep here, because this is obviously working with me now. And then I thought, well, what does this all mean? He goes, well, little word, little voice and a feeling goes, you're a fraud. And you can imagine, pretty emotional stuff. And in fact, I thought to myself, well, does this feel right? And it blooming did. Now I know, and I knew then, I had tools to learn from those, or learn from like my unconscious mind giving me the information I need to work on. Learn from them and let them go. Okay, still work in progress on some of those. That's the truth about these things. We are all works in progress, I believe. And the more we try to create a better self of ourselves, we find those little flaws. We find those big flaws occasionally, and carry on. We just have to keep working. And that's why this challenge to you is something I think is so certainly dear to my heart, but it's something I think is so beneficial. I mean, when Joseph and I, when we do our timeline therapy trainings, and also when we were trained, it was always said, you can clear all these negative emotions, but it's great every year, every 6 months, to just go through them again, to clear away any more anger that comes along, any more sadness, any more guilt, any more hurt. Because it's like an MOT or a service. You're just cleaning out the little bits and learning all the time. So here's my challenge though, because that's the way I do mine. And I was like, that's like the not edited down, because I've shown you exactly what I did, but it was like, because I'm used to it, I had an idea what I was going to do. But what I thought was, how could I ask you to do it? And my thought was this: obviously, you need some time. And in this, by the way, just before I carry on, is this all sort of making sense? Because I'm sharing quite a lot, but I just want to make sure that you haven't fallen asleep. And it's of interest. Cool. Making sense. But on the other hand, I don't want to frighten you. Because although some of that seems really heavy stuff, it didn't come across heavy to me at the time. Okay, sometimes emotional, a few tears come along. But knowing that you're working on this and your unconscious mind has brought it up for a reason, and the reason is to let it go. Right time, right place. And the thing is, when you might be saying to yourself, well, okay, Paul, you're a trainer of NLP, you do hypnotherapy, you have all timeline therapy, you have all those tools. But the thing is, so do you. You have them, even if you don't know NLP, even if you don't know how to hypnotize somebody, even if you don't know timeline therapy. You have them all in Mind Mastery. You have wonderful programs. You have processes in every part of these programs. You have hypnosis tracks galore. All you have to do is find the right one. And finding the right one is easy, because all you have to, when you find the issues you want to do, literally look down the list of all the hypnosis tracks if you want to, go, which one is the most meaningful to me, and notice which one jumps straight out intuitively, and work on that, and then the next and the next. You've got all these tools. You've also got these Q&As. So, and because you don't have to fix, because you're not broken for a start anyway, but for me, that came up because I dedicated my time to get specific on changing. But I know some of the changes I did were instantaneous. Did the work, boom, felt better. The others, well, they're, as I said, a work in progress. And I'll do them over the days, the weeks, and the years, because every time I get a new goal, some of these things are going to come and get me. Maybe I hadn't quite cleared something, or there's another issue that maybe just needs helping, a bit more confidence, a bit more competence. So here's what I'm going to suggest you do, is first of all, obviously allocate and commit to some time. And I'd really think that, you are the first people who have seen and heard about what's been written in this book. Joseph hasn't even, well, up until now, before this time, no one has seen what I've done. So no one has to see or know what you're doing. That's it. It's private. All you need to know is you have the full support of all your Mind Mastery family, the tribe, the family. You have, well, obviously we're part of the family. Joseph, Luke, and myself. We're all here for you. So you've got the Q&As. You can ask questions on the Facebook. So you've got so many resources to you. So we are covered. All our bases and resources are covered. So all we have to do is now set our time and dedicate it to ourselves. So don't tell anybody what you're doing other than where you are and things like that. But if you can, because I want you to go away, even if it's only in the bedroom, the reading room, or wherever you go. I would go to a library, I'd go to a coffee house, or I used to go on my narrowboat when I had one. Or I've been with my son, Daniel. We booked a very large converted barn, but we just booked it, hired it for 2 days. He was down one end, I was down the other. We'd meet at lunchtime and then disappear, and then in the evening we'd have a glorious meal and a really good bonding type chat. It was awesome. So many different ways you can do it. It's like when I used to do it on my birthdays. For one half a day, I'd go out and sit by the River Cam with my dog Howie, get one of my books out, this type of book. And in fact, if I look back there, I know I'd find some notes of where I've been there on my birthday. So many different ways you can do it. And I want you to then start to think. Let's do a little review first. Review. And pick a period. You could say, okay, let's just pick the last 12 months because that's, or the last time you did a review, or at the most 12 months. Let me think where I was. Where was I in mind mastery? Where was I in my career? How was I feeling in my relationships? How was I feeling with my goals? How was I getting on generally? And write them down. Because, and the thing about this is when you write them down, say you do get interrupted. Someone calls you, they need your help. You can always come back to them. The other thing by writing things down, to me, is you use your internal voice, because you know what you want to write. Certainly, this is the way I do it anyway. I'm using probably quite a lot of my imagination and memories and my internal representations I've got, my internal voice. So that's another thing. I'm also using muscle memory for writing those words. That's another thing. And then when I look at it, I'm reading it again. So it's going in about 4 or 5 different ways. So now I've got the before. They go, well, where am I now? Let's just be honest about this. This is where I am. I'm doing this. I'm now doing that. I'm now doing this. What goals did I have back then? Which are the ones I've achieved? Did I overachieve? What were my successes over that period of time? And then I wouldn't say failures, but what didn't I achieve that I'd set out to achieve? We're not doing any analytical work yet. We're just writing these down. So it could be for me, say, well, I wanted to, this is something, again, personal. I wanted to get back into art, pen and ink drawing, watercolors, doing some pencil drawing. I love pencil drawing. That's what I had a goal. If I sat down now, what's my improvement? It would be a big fat zilch. I went to some painting classes. I went to one drawing class, but I never carried on. Okay, fine. That's what happened. No worse than it is, no better than it is. That's just a fact. Because we're going to look for that. We're going to work on that if we need to. So we've got our successes, our not quite successes, the things we're going to learn from. And where am I currently? What would I like to be doing? But before we get to our goals of the future, because we're just doing a review, you can think, what have I learned? Let's write down a few things. What have I learned? What have I learned to do differently? Maybe what new people do I know? Maybe what people have I let go in my life. Now that could be positive or it could be negative. Positive in there are some people that need to be let go of, to let them do their own thing because maybe they're bringing you down or they're not on the right level, the same level as you are in your own evolution. But maybe on that negative side, there are people you go, well, I should have made a little bit more effort, but forget the should, because we should all over ourselves. But these are the people I would have liked to have stayed more contacted. Going a quick digression, and this is what my son Daniel does, and he wouldn't mind me sharing this. He does this regularly. Every month he looks and says, out of my friends, who haven't I spoken to? And who do I really need to keep in contact with? And he will do that every month. And he has got friends way back from his 3-year-olds, back in the very first play group he went to. He's still got 3 or 4 of his friends. In fact, he goes on holiday with them occasionally. He sees them still. And they are absolutely awesome connections. But he makes sure he does that. So that's another thing. So just getting a little statement. And then when you can start to say, well, okay, well, now we're going to start to think about, we've reviewed, we've done a really solid review. And each time you're doing this, you might want to just sit back and put yourself in like a semi-bit of hypnosis. How do you do that, Paul? Just remember how you felt when you were being hypnotized before. Your best hypnosis, the one you really enjoyed. Just remember the feeling. Close your eyes, go back to that feeling. And as you do that, just start to think, I wonder what else. A bit like me with my clients. Why else are you here? What's that one thing? And just get a good understanding, because you're also now talking to your best friend. And then I want you to explore possibly emotions. So we now get another page and we flick backwards and forwards. So, okay, the things, my successes, when I look at those, what are the emotions I get when I think about it? And just notice the emotions you get and make a little note. Well, these are the emotions I've experienced, and notice how much you enjoyed them, because there'll be some better than, or have more enjoyment than others. So if there's things that you're going, well, actually this one made me feel absolutely, totally connected. I was so in tune. Guess what? We can use it as an anchor for the future, can't we? For things that you're going to imagine where you need more connection. Or maybe there was things that gave you a great sense of achievement. Or times when you just had the courage to do things that possibly in the past you wouldn't have done, but you did it. And you had so much inner courage. And I call inner courage that inner power, personal power, where your inner strength, empowerment. And which ones give you that? Maybe they'll give you more than one. So now you're getting like a little recipe of resources you could use for the future. But look at the things you've really done. You're telling your unconscious mind as well, these are the things I really enjoyed. Now, we've got, as we say, more resources than just the hypnosis and all the wonderful mind mastery programs and mind mastery Facebook page and all this community here. But now we can start to look at, okay, what about the things I didn't get, the things I'd really wanted to? You can review them in the way that, well, do you still want to? And if it was me with my drawing, because I thought about this morning, actually, when I'm thinking about this, I said, yeah, I do. I still want to get back. It's something that gave me real joy when I did it before, and I could think I could get that joy back again. I think it would still give me joy. So one of the things I would be doing is saying, well, when I think about it, what's the emotion that I feel about not getting it or not doing it? What emotion does just the thought of not doing it give me? Or maybe I'd ask my unconscious mind, what stopped me? What was the thing that stopped me? So you're now starting to get things you can work on. Because then you know if you do set a goal or a similar goal, there could be these obstacles in the way. So you've now got all the positive resources of the things that you know work well. But now you've got, well, actually, I want to work on this first. So you may go to, this one contains a negative belief. So where can I find that? Maybe it's in module 2. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe I don't know where it is, Paul. So we go to our Facebook, Mind Mastery Family. Can you help me? I'm looking for some hypnosis or a process to help me change negative beliefs. Boom, you're going to get it within minutes. Wonderful set of resources here. Wonderful set of coaches who don't know they're coaches, but they're awesome coaches and mentors. Now we can start working on, so we start to ease and change things. Now what we're doing also is, this is changing how we're going to be in the now, isn't it? Because these things are bubbling away underneath the surface. But then we can start saying, well, okay, I've done a massive review, Paul. I've got the things I like, and I've found those wonderful resources. I've found the things that maybe didn't quite work, and I've worked on those. Or I'm going to set a program to work on those. But now I'm going to think about my goals. And here's the thing. I want you to go into, I called it, what I don't call it is, don't be an adult. I want that childlike quality of curiosity, of Imagineering. And the question would be, if I could have it comfortably, safely, and give me so much pleasure, what would I want? What would I do? What would be my goal? And notice what comes up, and unedited, start to let them come on the paper. So maybe another sheet. These are my goals. These are the things that are just going to make me so happy, so content, whatever your value is. And really just allow them to come on your page. Because then you can start to go, well, these are going to come in groups. You don't have to do all of them at once. You can see, well, that's a long-term one. But if it's long-term, work backwards. What would be a little thing I can do to keep the momentum going? If it's a short-term one, what have I got to do now? What's the smallest thing I can do now to get that goal? What would the effect be? But you might go, well, I have these goals. It's okay for Paul to say, just write down what you want. But that's what I really want. But I don't believe it's possible to get it. So there you go. Now we've found something we can work on. So you say to yourself, when I think of that, what feeling do I have? Maybe that's a little bit of anxiety I've got to work on. Or maybe there's doubt. Or maybe there's a little bit of guilt. Could be anything. I mean, when I went through mine, loneliness came up. Being a fraud. All this stuff. And you go, okay, I understand that now. And here's the next part. What's the intention? What's the intention? The positive purpose of having me feel this way. And you'll get something like, protection is one, but it's very big. But it might be, to save you being from hurt in the future. So how could we get this a better way? Because I really want the positive out of this. How can I mitigate the things that may give me hurt? What is a better way? But if I could have it, what would I need? And then we go back to this very first question. We use our Imagineering to create those pictures in our mind, to imagine how, if I did get it, and at this moment in time, we're not saying we're going to get it. We're actually going to say, okay, probably won't get it. But if I did, what would it look like? Because now we've got nothing to stop us. Because we say, well, it's probably not going to happen anyway. So let's have a good look at it. How would it be? But the thing is, when you start looking at that, then you're going to find, well, if I was doing that, this is how I'd be. So I'd be using these type of resources because I'd be pretty confident in myself, or maybe I'm walking this way, or maybe I've learned something, or maybe I've got this inner power. I'm using that. Oh, we're using that inner power again. Now I'm finding the resources. So now we can work on that negative feeling. We can now work on that negative belief. And we've got this wonderful work in progress that we're addressing. And it's amazing how much you can do in a short period of time when you focus, when you have your full attention. Because, there's no distractions and your unconscious mind gets it. That's what I believe. It gets how important this is. And it starts like any best friend would do. It supports you in getting rid of the stuff that's not going to help you. Make sure you're going to be safe and comfortable and enjoy. Because unconscious minds, I'm going to cough, excuse me. Drink. Unconscious minds have two basic things for you. Keep you away from pain, protect you, and take you towards pleasure. And this is what you're trying to say. Let's mitigate any pain so we can have limitless pleasure and give it a good intention, or understand your intention and make sure that intention is so positive that you feel it from top to bottom, fully aligned, fully congruent. And then you stack the beliefs, stack the emotions that support this congruence, this alignment. And then set your goals. And you've got them all in here. I say in here, in the Mind Mastery program, because you've got everything you need. Just write a timeline out. Come from the end, having got your goal, backwards. And you'll notice what you need to do. Anything comes up, you work on it. And if need be, you then go, do you know what? I think I need another couple of hours after this. I'm going to work on some of this stuff. But when it happens, we're just going to do another couple of hours. I'm going to go to the coffee shop and just work on this one little thing. Or I'm going to spend half an hour this evening. Nice and quiet. Glass of wine. Just work on it. And it's amazing. And the thing is, I believe the more you do this, you tend to, you'll always, I think these mini retreats are awesome, but you'll find out that you have this constant work in progress being worked upon without you knowing it. So as if anything happens, instead of waiting till you go and review, your unconscious mind goes, didn't quite get that. I wonder what we could have done differently. We could have done. And all of a sudden your imagination starts and you start thinking to yourself, I really want this. Yeah, I could do this. Hang on a minute, that's different. I could do this. All the positive beliefs start coming there to support you. Thing is, are you going to do it? That's the thing. What I would say is, if you do, I know for certain, I call it my old CLOUGHIE guarantee, you will be amazed. Amazed about what you learn, amazed about what your potential is. You'll be amazed of what you can achieve. You'll be amazed at what you have achieved. You'll be amazed about what you can do. Basically, you'll be amazed. But you'll also then start setting goals that would in the past seem ridiculous to you. But now they're going to seem, well, they're just things I'm going to do. You're also going to be, what I like to think of, being like, not a role model as such, but you will be a role model. Because when you start doing the things like this, and that's why you're here in Mind Mastery, isn't it? To have this self-improvement, this working on yourself, to become aligned and congruent and start achieving things and making a difference to the world. You will start making a difference to the world because everyone will get it around you. You won't have to say a word. You will just give off the energy, the vibrations of being that person. And you're going to set ripples going so far, you will never know how far they go. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that extract, and I hope you got something out of it. I would hope you got lots out of it. As I said, you may need to re-listen to it to get the best out of it, because it's just something that I do, and I get great results for myself. And I think it's something that you could do to get great results for you. And it's good fun. And it's something we ought to do, I think, is like have this general MOT service that we can give ourselves on a yearly, 6 monthly basis to become the best we can be at any moment in time. If you did enjoy it and you did get things or something from this, please do share it with whoever, your best friends, your unbest friends, or people you just know that might find it of interest too. It's great to spread the word, this integrated field of learning that I bang on about. So let's share and pay it forward, and that would be great. And if you're interested, this isn't an advert, and it wasn't an advert for Joseph Clough Mind Mastery, but if you're interested, just Google it, Joseph Clough Mind Mastery. He's given me permission to play the excerpt, so I think you ought to give him a shout for it. So thank you, Joseph. Anyway, have more fun than you can stand, and live with so much passion. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.